Welcome students to lab number 6, and we will do example number 3. So in example number 3, what we will do is we will be looking at the bar chart, and in this case we will do at horizontal type. So we have a bar chart where we will visualize the data in a horizontal bars. So as usual, we need to import our packages, matplotlib.py as plt, and then we will recall the same example we did in example number 1, which is I have a couple of courses, 4 courses, I have the number of students in each course, and then I want to color each course with a different color. So Math 211 will be colored in red, Hot Pink will be used for Stat 288, for the econ we will do it with B, and finally Stat 377 we will color it with a specific color code that is given to us. So we will have a variety of colors. Now, in order to plot the bar chart, we will go with bar and then we will add H. So when we add an H, that means he will create a bar chart, but this time it will be horizontal. Now, what we should write here for the bar chart, there are many parameters. The most and first is I need to give it the x-axis and the y-axis. And the way it could start with, I need to write my label, comma, my y-axis. Now, this is the simplest of all. Of course, we can just add the color once for all, and then we will just try to show it. Now, before I add more parameter, let me run this code. So what I did here, I called the function barh, and as a parameter, I pass through the course names, the course numbers, and the colors I wanted to be colored. Now, it should take my labels and write them in the y-axis. The value, it should be in the x-axis. The reason why it is switch, because remember, this is bar h, so it's not the usual bar, it's just bar h. Now I will run the code. Let's see what will be the output. It takes some time, and here we go. So first of all, we have the labels on the left in the y-axis. We have the numbers on the x-axis, which is a little bit different than the way I pass it, but because this is bar h, this is how it will be. Now you can see that the icon is blue because I passed the color P, and the code for 377 is kind of a degree of a greenish color. This is the simplest visualization we did here. Of course, we can start adding more parameter to this one. So I'll just comment this one, and I'll take this, I'll copy it again, and now I want to add extra parameter. Now, what could be an extra parameter that we can use? Well, there are many of them, and one of the most important one, first of all, can you see the height here? This height, let's try to change it. So it is by default is 0.8. This is the default. This size here is 0.8. Now, if you wanted to make it thinner, I would suggest we go with 0.3, and let's see how it will look like. I'll run it now, and that's what happened. So if you do it 0.3, it gets even thinner. Now, how about you want it even thicker? For example, you would go 2.3. Now, we would expect that each bar would be very thick, that even they might get into each other. Let's see how it will look like. It's exactly what happened. They get into each other because remember, the canvas is fixed here. They just get into each other. So usually we stick with the default, which is 0.8, or if we want to change it, we just need to change it reasonably. So I'll just keep it 0.8, which is the default one. Now, what else? What can we write as extra and extra? Of course, we don't know all of them at once in our heart. So what we will do, we will go to the documentation of bar h. What's the documentation? We go here, and that's the documentation for bar h. So there are many of the parameters. First of all, the x and the y. The height, we just talk about the height, so we don't need to do it. There is a parameter called width, and there is one called align. And of course, there are many other of them. And even one is left. So let's look at the width, left, align. Maybe those are the most important. Now, if we look at the width, it says that this is the width of the bars. Of course, the width of the bar, we pass it. And that's exactly what we did. We pass, we call it y here. But again, because this is bar h, it's the kind of the opposite. We should just keep in mind that this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, this is the height, and this is the labels. But because it's bar h, we switch them. Left is the x-coordinate of the left side of the bar. Now, if you look at the bar, it's all start from the 0. Now, let me just try to see what will happen if we just change this left. Now, of course, by default it's 0. Let me do it at 10. It should expect that we start at 10. Now, we start at 10. Of course, we don't have anything here. Now, why would we do that with the bar chart? There is no reason, apparently not that of a reason, so we'll just keep it with the default, which is 0. We saw the align. We have two options for the align. The default is the center, and we have the align of the edge, which says the align the bottom edge with the Y positions. Let's try it. Align equal edge. Okay. Now you can see what happened is the bar does not really fit into the center of the label. It's exactly on the edge, that's how it will look like if we use the edge. If it's center, it will be exactly at the center. So here will be exactly at the center. Of course, if we change the height, let's see what will happen. Is exactly get the same thing. All right, and then we have the color. We have the edge color, which is a very important. We need to call the edge color. Let me just call the edge color. We will come back to it later, but for now, let me just do it all black. Let's see what will happen. Now, if you notice, now the bar has an edge. I don't know if you can see it very quickly here. It's like they have an edge, and this edge I color it with black. Now, in order for us to see it better, let me just maybe do it in purple. We need just to color. Yeah, now you can see that there is an edge, and this edge has a color. How we achieve that? By something called edge color. Line width, it's the width of the edge bar. Okay, so if we just write line width equal one is not that high, maybe it is 10. You can see now it has an edge, and this edge is very thick because we just changed it. Now, please notice that edge color, line width, I used only one value for them. I use purple. What happens if you use purple? All of these being colored with purple. You can even enhance it by using a list that each one has a different color. For example, the second one I wanted with blue, the third one I wanted with yellow, and then the last one I wanted with black. And this is a list. Now look, each one has a different color. Same thing for the line width. We can do that with the line width, and so on and so forth. Of course, those are not necessarily important for us. The shape is not looking nice, but this is how we can achieve more and more. And we have so many others. Parameters that we can use. Okay. In this table, you can find the other parameters that you can use. For example, the face color, edge color, the color that we just used. Here is just a kind of a complete list of everything. Line style is very important. That's one of the things also we need to discuss is the line style. And in this case, I just want it to be dashed. Look what happened. You cannot see it here. So this will ls line style. Just need it to be dashed. And that's, you see the edges become dashed. So we can control so many things. You just have to look at this one and see what we can get. Now, this is what it is. I'll just comment this one now and comment this one so that we go back to the default one. Of course, we always try to stick with the default one unless it is necessary to alter it ourselves. Now what I want to do next is, let me enhance this one. I will add another variable, another set of numbers. Now this one, let's say I have another variable z, another list, which contains, so z contains the number of students attended the class. And let's say we have 50 students attend one day for 10 students here. This one becomes like 120, and finally we have only 7 students at the other class. What I want to do next is I would like to again do the same thing, but this time with the z. Let's see how it looks like. Of course, we cannot see anything here, and the reason why we cannot see anything because both of them, they use the same color. Let me just change the color. One of them, we'll call it black. This one, comment. And this one, we'll call it red. Now let's see what will happen. What I'm asking the Python to do is to do the same bar chart. The first one with the list of y, the actual number of students in the class, will be represented by red rectangles, and the number of students who attended the class will be represented by black. Let's see the outcome, and from the outcome you will understand what's the point. Now what happened here is we have a long rectangular bar up to here, and that's the number of students in the class. It was 58. Now only 50 of them attended the class, so we just color the attendance, which is 50. And this is why it's really nice, because sometimes we need to compare the number of students with the number of attendees. So we can use this one up here. That's if we do, it's kind of a stack chart in a way or another. Okay. Now, sometimes you want to emphasize which one to be on the starting from the left. And let me just do now. If you do left equal to y, it shows you exactly the first one and then start the second one. So it's like they added them. Start from 0 to 50, and then they add the other one up here, which is, of course, in this shape, it doesn't really look good. So I'll just remove this one and keep this one as this. So in summary, what we did in example number 6 is we looked at the same example we had before. We draw a bar chart, and we know exactly, we look at so many parameters of the bar chart, horizontal bar chart, including the edge color, line style, line width, and we did 2 visualization of 2 data sets in one bar chart, which is one over the other one. Thank you for watching.